Hello, lovely people.
Hello.
So today we are going to talk about the secret we've been holding for a very long time. And the secret is that my wife was in a court some years ago or many years ago. And we are really going to talk about it. And if you have someone who is in a court as well or a sect, then you could also find this video helpful. And so let's start. Now, tell us your life before the sect.
Okay, so I grew up in a Christian family. I was a Christian since my childhood. I really believed in God, and I always wanted to do what is good based on the Bible. And I was living very active life of faith. I was actively trying to find some place of like-minded people who would help me to grow in my faith, who would help me to understand more Bible and God. And I was also searching for some true friends that would support me in Christ.
Oh, okay. And how did you end up in a sect?
Well, it was at a time when I was moving out of my parents' house. I was starting a university and I didn't have many friends. I was just entering a new environment, didn't know anyone, not sure what to expect. It was quite a lot of stress and just wanted to find some supportive group of young people that we could share together about Bible, about life, and pray together, support each other mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Yeah.
And how old were you as at that time?
I was about 20 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, sorry, what's your name?
So my name is Yana.
Good. And my name is Theo. Okay, so how did you get into the sect? Who introduced you into the sect? How did you find a sect? Is it that you were just walking by and then you just went into some room and then boom, I'm in a sect or a cult?
Not immediately.
Okay, so take us through.
Okay, so I was doing some summer job in Prague. I was going there every day to help, and one day on my way I just met one lady on the street.
Okay.
And she talked to me that she is doing some project and if like we could meet and I could help her by answering some questions. So I was like, okay, why not? Yeah, I would like to have some friend. I don't know anyone around. And she said she was a Christian. So I was like, yeah, well, it might be a nice opportunity to maybe get a new Christian friend.
Okay.
Yeah, so I agreed and later I met with her. And first, like, she just introduced herself that she's doing some psychology research and she can like help me to understand myself better by doing some tests. And I was like, well, that's quite interesting, why not? I was young and it was interesting for me to learn something about myself. So we met several times. Then she introduced me to another person who she said was her mentor.
Okay.
Yeah, so I got introduced to another person. Then after a few meetings, I got introduced to another person. And yeah, like gradually they offered me that they are doing this Bible courses so I can study Bible with them. I was like, that's really cool. I would really love to understand more Bible. And
so how come, or based on the transitions you are talking about, so you met someone, the person is a psychologist, and then the person tells you, well, I have a mentor. So a psychologist having another mentor, what came in your mind? Were you not scared?
Well, I am introverted person.
Okay.
It's not easy for me to meet new people, especially a lot of new people in a short period of time, because it takes me some time to feel comfortable with a new person.
Okay.
So it felt quite uncomfortable to me, to be honest, meeting new people all the time and sharing with them some very personal information about, my character, my plans, my past, my future.
Okay.
So I didn't feel comfortable meeting new people, but I didn't really have a choice.
Okay. And when they introduced you into this Bible course, or it started with Bible course, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when they started with this Bible course, what were the process? Like, was it immediately? You became a member of the church immediately, or you went through some courses and before they approved you?
Oh, I didn't become the member of the church.
Okay.
In the beginning, I just had a few lessons, like one-to-one, with that person.
Oh, okay.
Who, like, we just met like a friendly meeting, and yeah, they just had some lesson plan. We went through some verses, they gave some comment about it, we talked about it. It was like very friendly way, no pressure.
Okay.
And then at some point I was offered to enter a group class, like group Bible class,
Okay.
where I would study more intensively with another students. Many of them were similar age as me, so I was like, okay, I can give it a try, why not?
And how many times a day how many times a week were you going there? Was it just once?
In the beginning it was 2 times, I think, and then it was 3 times.
It's called graduation.
And it was like every time for maybe like 2 to 3 hours.
Okay.
So it definitely took some time.
And
But at that time, I was studying at university, so I was a student and my schedule was a bit flexible. It was not so difficult for me to get a time. Or let's say I had some job at that time, but I left the job because I thought that this is really good opportunity for me to grow. So I left my job to study the course.
okay.
Yeah.
And during during the course and everything, after you went through the course, is it that you had to just write some exams, or they just how was the course?
Of course, so we were having lectures.
Okay.
It's a bit like at school. We were just having lectures and then we were writing exams after some time.
Okay.
And the course had like different phases, like the basics, then the intermediate, and then the advanced.
So after going through the course, and how many months was the course, or how many years?
I think it took around 10 months.
10 months.
Yeah, I'm not
Okay.
exactly sure, but yeah, it was less than a year, but quite a long time.
Quite a long time.
And in the beginning, they told that it would be for 6 months, and then it kept prolonging. That's also, not very nice.
Yeah.
It happens all the time anyway.
And at what point did you realize that you started questioning what you were being taught?
Pretty much from the beginning,
Okay.
because what I was taught by them was really different from what I knew before. It really kind of destroyed my faith in a way that I started questioning everything and what I believed in until that point. And it was quite interesting. Yeah.
So is it that they were controlling you, or what were they doing that made you started to question your self-identity, or started questioning everything about you?
They were basically just using Bible verses and
Okay.
interpreting them in a very different way than what I knew.
So that's manipulation, would you say?
Would not say that it's a manipulation, but they just had some intention. Yeah?
Okay.
And they were using the Bible courses to support whatever they said. So I felt like I cannot do anything against, because everything is supported by the Bible. So I felt like, oh well, if this is what Bible says, I believe in Bible, so well, I want to do what is right according to the Bible. And I felt like myself, I didn't really understand Bible that much, so I wanted to learn. And I didn't realize that what they were teaching is actually just one point of view, one possible interpretation.
Wow.
So it made me believe that what I believed in was wrong.
Okay. And what do you think was the ulterior motive? Is it just to make you their slave? And at one question, during your studies, did you have to interrupt your studies just to focus on what they were doing, or how did you do it? How did you combine your studies, work? I believe you were working at that time.
Yes.
So how did you combine your studies, work, and then the sect?
Yeah. I've already mentioned that I quit my job because I decided to focus on the course.
Okay.
But at some point, the course started also taking a lot of time. It was not just 3 times the course, but then it was individual meetings with the people or some online calls with different people. And it started taking really a lot of time. And at a time also COVID came.
Okay.
And I was living kind of alone, or spending a lot of time alone, and I was not in touch with my classmates from school. So the only people I was in touch with were basically the people from the sect. And gradually it led me to focus much more on the course than my school. And I started having the priority in the course instead of the school. I started losing my motivation to finish my studies, and in the end I decided to quit my studies to just focus on the course and find some small job to live on. Yeah, but
And which year was this? 2020 or 2019 or?
I think it was 2022.
2022. Okay. And during the course, do you think did they try as much as possible to take absolute control over you and then tell you what to do, and then if you don't do it then you feel guilty or you would be punished for it, or how?
Not entirely, but there is a strict hierarchy. So you have a person who is responsible for you, or there are some small groups of people, and each of the small group has some leader, and the leader has some leader, and the leader has some leader. So there is hierarchy system. So for me, any problem I had or any question, I had a person I needed to go to and talk to. I couldn't go to anyone else and talk about it.
Okay.
And this person would help me to make the decisions, or usually they didn't want to be responsible for taking the decision instead of me. So they would just tell me something supported by the Bible verses, and then they were yeah, it's up to you to make the decision, but they were basically pushing me to go in certain direction. They made me believe that if I don't do this, I'm not a good believer, and God will not reward me, and yeah, well.
Did they tell you at one point that none of whatever you are doing would help support your family, and that nothing will happen to your family?
Of course, because since I started studying there, I was not so much in touch with my parents, with my family, because I didn't have time for it, and because I was at this age, leaving my home. I was so happy that I finally left my parents' home and just didn't have so much motivation to stay in touch with my parents. But of course, like, they would tell me that I'm not doing this for myself, but I'm doing this for my entire family, that I can save the life of my family members, and this is the best I can do for my family. So yeah, like, they would even like support me to not tell them the truth.
Wow.
About where I am going, who am I meeting.
Really?
So they would like help me to find some excuse or some lie I can tell my parents, so that they would not find out what I am actually doing.
Wow. So they help you to lie to your parents, and then so when your parents found out that you were in a sect or a situation like this, how did they feel?
My father was really like furious. He started researching a lot about the place and connecting with people who have experience with that group or sect.
Okay.
And he, of course, like, started to contacting me and trying to talk to me about different things to broaden my point of view. But it was not really possible at that time because I would not listen.
Okay.
Because I was just surrounded by all the people from the sect who made me believe that where I was the right place. And I would not allow anyone to tell me that this is not true.
Okay. And meaning you started disrespecting your parents?
Well, yeah.
Oh my.
I would avoid them most of the time, not want to talk to them. Because when I would talk to my father, he would always try to talk to me about the sect, of course. So I didn't want to talk to him at all.
And was there a point where the sect told you not to even maybe help your parents with something, or they really needed you even when your parents needed you to help with something?
Well, they consume most of my time by doing different voluntary activities, but they are voluntary, but you are pushed to do them. And of course, sometimes it would collide with other family interests, like my grandmas would need some help because they were also aging and they needed some help, some support. And I would not really have time for it because I would prioritize to do some activities in the sect because I believe that this is what God wants me to do.
Wow. So I am even shocked. At this point, if you are still watching, please do us a favor, subscribe, like, and then let us have your comment. Have you ever been into a sect? Have you ever been into a place where they lie to you about something and then you find out the reality and it's not true? So if you've been in a similar situation, let us know in the comment section and how you dealt with that kind of a problem. You see, it's always good to read your Bible. It's always good to challenge what someone brings into your doorstep. It's always to do investigation. It's all by reading. You see, so were you even allowed to read on the internet did you even research about this sect before entering?
I tried, of course I did.
Okay.
But the thing is that for a very long time, they didn't tell me their name or like who they are. Yeah, they would tell me some kind of false identity. They didn't even tell me their true names.
Okay.
And name of the organization, so it was not very easy to research about it. And at that point, when they finally revealed the name of the organization, of course I tried to do some research, but
then it was too late.
It was not an easy topic to be about. There were so many mixed advice and things, and of course, I was surrounded by people who would support me to stay there. So at some point I was really confused. I didn't know what is true, what should I do, and I had some friends that I knew before I entered the sect, and they would tell me to like go away, that this is not a good place. And I was in like the middle of this confusion that different people would tell me different things.
Wow.
But at that time, like I already spent so much time with the people from the sect that I believed them more than anyone else. So I decided to continue that journey and to stay there.
And how was the recruitment done? When I say recruitment, how did you get other people to join your sect?
It's usually based on the street evangelism, how
Okay.
they call it. So you have some kind of tool. It's usually using psychology or some school projects, but the people are not an actual students sometimes. Yeah, they just use it as a strategy. They do some kind of research or project, and they question people on some topics that would help them to find out information about the people. And if the people are meeting some criteria, then they would continue with them and invite them to another meeting and another meeting and another meeting, and basically go through similar process like I did.
This is very dangerous because it's very important. Not everyone you see on the streets you must give your number to. Sometimes it's good to insist that they should give you the name of the organization or some event they want to do, and then you have to read about them. You see, that would rather help so much rather than just giving your number to this organization or whatever.
The thing is, they like purposefully focused on people who are maybe new to Prague and don't know anyone around. So it was easy for them to get close to that person. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's mostly not possible to really find much information online.
Okay. So the next in our next video, we will now talk about how you got out from this sect. And then we'll also talk about the number of people you recruited in this sect. And then we'll talk about the spiritual aspect of this sect, what they were doing. We'll also talk about the relationship between how you got out plus how you got married, and then because it's not easy. I will also share a part of me when she recruited me in that sect, and I will also share the way she used to recruit me. But until then, stay tuned and watch out for the next video. We love you and see you in the next video. Bye bye.